He's your ex. She's your ex. Does that make them your enemy? Some might say yes. I don't think so, though. Today, I want to talk about Will, Jada, and Cherie. And I want to talk about the evolution of relationships and being friends with your ex. Is that something that is possible? I think so. I'm a living testament to that, for sure. So, if this is a topic of interest to you, or you think that somebody else could benefit from it, then I want to remind you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and then tell one of your friends about it so that we can get to a place where we don't have to abandon or dismantle or throw away relationships just because they don't look the way we thought they were going to look for 60 years, okay? So I've been admiring in many ways for a very long time the way that Will and Cherie were able to marry at a young age, produce a child, right? Then the marriage dissolved. They went on to love other people, in this case, Jada, Will with Jada. And Trey was then, there was like this expanded family. So there's Will and Jada, there's Trey, and there's Cherie, right? So it's not, it's been public knowledge that Cherie was a part of this circle. She didn't ask to necessarily be, front and center, but there was always this messaging around how although they were divorced, there was still a kinship there. And I've admired that for a long time because I've always been of the mindset that if you love somebody enough to marry them, surely you can love them enough to be friends and cordial with them. Like, unless it is just something that is, there's some type of egregious behavior. And even with that, forgiveness allows you to not carry that cord with you of anger and resentment. Even if you're not friends with them, you can learn how to dissolve those heavy, dense feelings that would cause you to make them an enemy, right? Because then that is something that you carry around. It's not even them, it's you that's carrying it around. So what I wanted to talk about here is what it really takes, and I'm going to use myself as an example. I've said on several episodes and been very transparent about the fact that I have two husbands and men that I've loved very much and still love to this day. I think that they are great human beings. One for 14 years, one for 7 years. And I learned so much from each of those relationships. They definitely made me a better woman, a better partner. And it's because of them that I can say that I've discovered new aspects of myself. And my prayer at the end of each of those relationships was just quite simply that I pray that I had made enough deposits into them that they felt like they were better off because of the relationship as well, that it wasn't a deficit, like there wasn't, you felt depleted as a result of the relationship. I think that for me, my goal is always, whatever relationship I'm in, is to leave that person better as much as I can. And so that's what I see a lot. Again, I'm not intimately involved in Will, Jada, and Cherie's relationship, but I do find it commendable that they have been able to co-parent, stay collegial or cordial with one another through this journey. And I think it's because of 3 or 4 little simple things. One is just mutual respect for one another. I told you on another episode that one of my mentors, Susan Taylor, told me that the best person for you to marry is your best friend. And I believe that. I totally agree with that. We don't spend enough time cultivating friendships before we jump right into marriage, because in the friendship is where we learn how to develop this deep sense of mutual respect for one another, because it's with our friends that we really start to understand like what they don't like, and we're not really attached to it. It's just kind of like, yeah, that's how they are. Like, that's what they do. And so being able to really appreciate that without the attachment of you've got to be this certain way or you've got to act like this, you got to say this and, you need to do this for me. You're just really developing a sense of friendship and respect for the person. So I think that probably is intact there. The second thing is open communication. I've talked a lot about this. And there are facets of communication. The first, and I think the most important facet of communication that's needed if you're going to heal from your relationships and have your ex as someone who's in your circle, maybe not your inner circle, but they are part of your circle in some way, is being able to listen, to seek first to understand before being understood on anything. We're listening twice as much as we are speaking and just trying to understand where the person is coming from and making sure that we are not always presuming the worst or assuming the worst of a person. Because even though people can do some messed up things, most of the time the things that people are doing, it's not because of you, it's because of them. People are trying to figure out how to navigate this life, how to navigate the world. So the things that they do most of the time are survival mechanisms or techniques or defensive mechanisms for them. It's just that you sometimes are affected by it. So I think the more we can stay open to listening and understanding and asking questions, the more we discover. And then our empathy really goes up. And just because you empathize doesn't mean that you agree. You do not have to agree with them. And in fact, you can be, vehemently opposed to their position, but yet you can understand why they might see it that way. And then that takes us right back to the respecting that they have that position. Also in the communication is being able to speak your truth clearly and concisely with conviction, with authenticity. That is when you show up for yourself. Right? And so now the person gets an opportunity to know you, to be with you, to experience you, to respond to you instead of just reacting to you. So those are some of the things that really enhance the communication. And of course, watching our body language, but we'll talk about that on another episode. And then finally, number 3 is a unified presence. I've oftentimes seen Will, Jada, and Cherie with a unified presence. You've seen them take pictures together and with Trey and with all of the children who are not children anymore. They're young adults now. But you've seen this unified presence that I didn't necessarily feel was fake or, just for the photos. And that's not to say that they didn't have disagreements, but that we're still family. A lot of times, especially as African Americans, we allow difficult conversations and conflict to break the relationship instead of being in family. Family stays together. Family seeks to understand. Family heals. Family forgives. Family dares to love and to love deeply. So I'd love to see more of us learning how to heal our past relationships and becoming friends with our exes. So here are my tips for that. Number 1, after the breakup, give each other some space. Sometimes we do need space to just reflect and go inward and to figure out what worked, what didn't work, and what our part was. It's critically important, and it takes time to do this. So don't worry about rushing into this, just giving each other some space. And sometimes I have a girlfriend who's quite poetic, but she often says that women heal in the relationship and men heal after the relationship. And that I've always taken that with me. Sometimes women, when the relationship is not working, she starts this mending process. She starts trying to figure out what it is she's going to do and how she's going to do it. And women gravitate more so towards self-help than men do a lot of times. So she may start that healing process a lot sooner. And then men sometimes afterwards will, once they've moved past whatever barriers they need, will start that mending process. So giving time and space after the breakup. The second tip here is to focus on the positive. Far too many people focus on what went wrong instead of all the other beautiful, amazing things that came out of the relationship, including children. But there are other things that have come out of the relationship. What did you learn from it? What did you discover about yourself? What did you enjoy doing together? When did they make you laugh? What was delightful about them? What's sexy about them? Finding the beauty in them. They're still one of God's children, right? So focusing more on the positive. The relationship wasn't all bad. And then number 3 is practicing empathy and forgiveness. I want to leave you with a prayer that is a Hawaiian prayer called Ho'oponopono. And it's a prayer of forgiveness. Before I do that, let me just explain empathy. Again, empathy allows us to put ourselves in another person's shoes. So we may not agree with them, but if we can see it from their perspective, that then opens the way for forgiveness to take hold. And forgiveness is for ourselves. It is not for other people. It's so that we don't continue to carry around the baggage that weights us down in life. And so the prayer, the Ho'oponopono prayer, is quite simply to recite this 3 times, as often as you'd like. You don't need to answer these statements in any way or to know specifically what it's for, but just simply to feel it in your essence. And it goes something like this. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And with that, we are complete. I'm Tracey Knight. I'm your codependency coach. And I want to remind you that if you need support in any way, if you're wanting to learn how to navigate this space of codependency, rebuilding and restoring relationships, just simply go to the link below. Check out my Conquer Codependency Bootcamp. It has been designed especially for you. It is simple, easy to use, it's quick, it's 30 days of your life, and it's a holistic approach to healing from the 12 codependent patterns that you hear me talking about on here all the time. The other way of healing quick and getting quick coaching is to comment below. Put your comments down there, your questions down there, and share with us your journey and your story, your successes and the things that you're still working on conquering, because together we can take back, transform, and begin to win at the game called life.